Welcome back to Unapologetically Visible, the podcast for high-achieving Latina and women of color founders who are done being the best-kept secret. I'm your host, Christina Olivarez, award-winning visibility and leadership coach, TEDx speaker, and founder and CEO of The Social Butterfly Gal and Hustle and Socialize. Today's conversation is one I've been waiting to share, and I believe I referenced it during the very first episode of this podcast because it's been the backbone of how I'm rebuilding and restructuring not just my business, but my life in the next decade. We are talking about human design. Now, maybe you've heard about human design, or maybe you've already pulled out your birth chart that gives you your whole entire human design profile. Maybe you already know your type, or you've been seeing people online talking about it and you're a little curious, but also skeptical. I totally get that. And if that's you, then you're in the right place. As high achieving Latinas and women of color founders, we've been raised in a world that tells us that if it's not strategy, if it's not proven, or if it's not hard work, then it doesn't count. So when someone tells you, hey, there's this system that can help you live in alignment and work within the alignment of your own energy type, your first thought might be, yeah, okay, this sounds cool and it sounds cute, but will it help me pay my bills? And that's why I'm doing this episode. Because for me, human design has been less of a cute thing and more of a lifeline. It has been the one thing that's been pulling me back to myself after I lost my way in a very tough season. This isn't a trend for me. It's the compass for my next decade. In this episode, I want to take you on that journey with me. I'm going to share how I first discovered human design and the role that it played at a time where I was just dabbling in it, how the 2025 HNS conference kind of became my breaking point and my wake-up call, what my sabbatical taught me about rest and realignment, utilizing my human design, and how I am now restructuring both my business and my life around my design profile. And then towards the end of the episode, I will walk you through a little coaching moment so you can start experiencing what it looks like to make decisions from your design instead of from pressure or fear or people's expectations. Let's rewind back to December of 2023. I actually hosted a human design quarterly event for the HNS community in person with our incredible leader and speaker, Hope Pedraza. And at that point, I was just curious. I kind of was dabbling. I knew a little bit about my profile, but not to the extent like I know now. And I thought it was really interesting that so many women, especially in my immediate circle, were getting curious as well. And that's why I knew I needed to host this type of event, especially going into the new year of 2024. That quarterly event opened my eyes to human design, but I don't think I was fully immersed just yet until this year of 2025. So for those of you wondering, okay, Christina, what actually is human design? Well, here's the short version. It's a system that combines astrology, chakras, the I Ching, Kabbalah, and quantum physics. When you pull your birth chart, which I will put a link in the show notes below for you to get your own human design profile, it's based on your birth date, the time you were born, and the city and the state you were born. You will then get a body graph that shows how your energy is designed to move, how you make aligned decisions, and where you've been conditioned to operate against yourself. There are 5 main types of human designs: generators, manifesting generators, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. For my human design profile, I'm a generator with a sacral authority and a 4 profile. Okay, you're probably like, Christina, what the hell does that mean? Well, what that means in plain language is that my energy thrives when I'm doing work that genuinely lights me up. And that really makes a lot of sense. Not from the work that drains me or feels like I'm having to prove myself. My decision making comes from my gut, which is that sacral authority. So right now I'm listening to the cues of the aha moments versus the moments. So I'm thinking about how to make decisions from not overthinking. But if my gut is telling me that this is a aha moment, then hell yeah, we're going to make that decision. And as a 4-6 profile, that is called the stabilizer and role model. So I'm going to break it down. A 4-6 profile is made up of 2 lines from the hexagram in the Ching. Think of it as the costume that you wear in the world, the way you naturally show up and relate to others and how you move through life. Line 4 means that relationships are everything. I'm a person who thrives through networks, friendships, and community. Opportunities come through the relationships that I build, not from cold pitches. And I'm magnetic when I'm genuinely warm and rooted in trust. At my best, I am the bridge, which makes so much sense. I'm the connector. I naturally bring people together and I stabilize situations by being a trusted, grounded presence. The line 6 means I am the role model. My life is split into 3 phases. From 0 to 30, those were my trial and error years. I experiment, I bump into things, I make a lot of mistakes. And from years 30 to 50, which is where I'm currently at right now as a 34-year-old, I'm in the roof phase. This is where I'm currently thinking about observing my life and integrating and healing and refining everything that I did from the past into kind of like the present. So this is more about really internal reflections and less about proving myself. And then 50 years, which is like the 3rd phase, that's the role model phase. I'm stepping fully into the embodied leadership. The 6 carries the wisdom through my lived experiences, and it's more about embodying what I've learned so that later I can fully step into the role model of the teacher and where I get to put both of them together because my purpose is lived through my relationships and the embodiment. I'm not here to be the loudest or the flashiest. I'm here to model a new way of leading by being deeply authentic and aligned. When I learned my whole entire profile, it really hit me like a ton of bricks because it explained why the old ways of hustling and trying to prove my worth were suddenly burning me out. It explained why I was craving more space, more joy, and more alignment. And my human design gave me language for what my body already knew. And to me, that was like, I'm not broken. I was just designed differently than the way I had been operating. Which leads me to this year in 2025. This is what I like to call the before. You see, from August of 2024 up until June of 2025, I was prioritizing one main thing within my business model. And that was the event arm of my business, the conference. I've had several different revenue streams in my business model, but in 2024, in August, I made a decision to prioritize that event side arm of the company versus the coaching arm. The success of the conference in 2024 led me to believe that alignment meant prioritizing the event above anything else. However, that whole entire sales cycle felt so off. I saw the red flags from the very beginning, but I was choosing to ignore it only because I don't think I really wanted to face the reality of the situation and the gravity of my decision. Instead of trusting my gut, I kept pushing. And I told myself, Christina, you've always figured this out. You can prove it again. You can hustle harder. You can message people. You can convince people. You can force it. And y'all, that energy, it was exhausting. And I know that my audience could feel it too, because if I was feeling that energy, it definitely was exuding out in every single piece of content, every conversation I was having. You could already tell that I was depleted even before the event began. And I remember Pete telling me, like, you haven't even gone through the event yet and you are already exhausted. Because that's exactly what I was feeling. I wasn't feeling satisfied. I didn't feel proud about the work that I was doing or even the event itself. I didn't recognize who I was anymore. And I'll be real with you. I didn't like who I was becoming through the process. I was consumed. My body felt it. My health felt it. My nervous system felt it. And my marriage even felt it. My joy was gone throughout that whole entire experience. And for what? An event that I was secretly ready for it to be over before it even began? I knew I missed coaching. I missed that intimacy with my clients. And I miss those deep conversations with women where I get to watch the light bulb moments go off and experience their own transformation. Even though the event does give that transformation, I knew that it wasn't the same. And instead, I was drowning. That was my wake up call. So, of course, I got through the event. It was a beautiful conference, much more intimate. And I did feel great at the end of it. But after the 2025 conference, at the end of June, that's where human design stopped being something that I was interested in. And it started becoming my blueprint. After the 2025 conference, I did something that I hadn't done in a long while. I gave myself permission to pause. I took a sabbatical. And for me, my sabbatical looked like a whole month that was split into two parts. The first part was recovering from the conference. I allowed myself 2 weeks to just close off anything that needed to be done with the event. That was conducting feedback, meeting with several of the attendees one-to-one, doing some coffee meetups here and there, but just kind of allowing my energy to not go full force in sales mode again and just really kind of say goodbye to the event cycle. And then the second part was actually taking a break. 2 weeks of nothing. And let me tell you, people have all kinds of opinions about how you should rest. And I think that what annoys me the most about the word rest is so many people think it has to look a certain way in order for it to count as rest. Like everybody wanted to tell me how I should rest, or that my sabbatical wasn't a sabbatical because it was only 2 weeks, or because I was still online from time to time sharing my enjoyment of the things that I was doing that didn't really count as rest. I've been on a journey of understanding what rest means to me because of the way I think about rest and how my rest looks like pure joy. It looks like remembering Christina before the world told me who I had to be. Rest for me looks like really digging deep into all of the different versions of Christina, like my childhood, my teenage life, my young adult years, and even now, and prioritizing more of the somatic healing and prioritizing bits and pieces of my human design, which is pure joy, into my rest. So that meant childhood Christina, who loved to dance and play and color. Teenage Christina, who found peace in journaling and getting immersed in Grey's Anatomy episodes. Young adult Christina, who just really loved to be around water, especially the sound of waves, who was always by the river and the pool at Texas State University after classes or during her downtime. And so that's what I did. I prioritized my sabbatical around the rest that gives me joy. I danced, I journaled, I watched Grey's Anatomy for the millionth time. I created a voice note diary. I meditated, I colored, and I gave myself slow mornings. I even went to visit my parents in the Rio Grande Valley, and Pete and I got to go to the beach for the first time in a couple of years. And I made one sacred rule: no working. No opening up my laptop, no getting on to Zoom and having secret meetings. It was pure sabbatical, no working. We were closing down that laptop. And little by little, I felt pieces of myself come back. My sacral started whispering again, and my body started to say yes and no very clearly. My human design profile gave me the permission slip to say, this is what rest looks like for me, not for anybody else. Super freeing. So how does this all translate to business? How does human design translate into actually making money and actually doing the work that you fully enjoy? Well, for me, it meant I had to strip away everything that was built on proving, performing, and pushing, and rebuilding and restructuring, even reimagining my business around the alignment. Let me break that down. It means that moving forward, as I think about my life and business in the next decade, how I want to build it with motherhood as a priority, it's through the lens of my human design profile. It means that I'm leaning into my sacral, into my gut for making strategic decisions. My business model is now a voice first, proximity based coaching first model, where my offers, private coaching, VIP days, intensives, are all designed for the depth and intimacy and calibration that I enjoy with the women that I have the honor of coaching. This is where I come alive. And I'm deconstructing the event side and realigning and reimagining it for where I'm currently at, as human design is the focus. And right now, I currently don't have any answers as to how I want to restructure and reimagine Hustle and Socialize in the next year. And you know what? That's okay. I realize that I don't need to have it figured out right now, and nor do I want to have it figured out right now. I'm allowing myself the time and the space to really fall back in love with my business from the lens of human design. So that means for me, saying no is key. And let me tell you, for someone like me, it's kind of terrifying. I think it's coming from the people pleasing parts of saying no, not really wanting to disappoint people. But I know I have to break up with that. So I will say no to speaking engagements that look shiny on the outside, but I know that in my gut, they would drain me from an energetic perspective as well. I'm saying no to opportunities that would have me hustling for visibility instead of embodying it. I'm saying no to networking events that I know will drain me and that won't have not just a return on my investment, but an energetic return emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I've even started to say no to parts of Hustle and Socialize, which has been my baby for years because I could feel like it wasn't aligned with where I'm headed in my life and in my business beyond 2025 and 2026. Second, it means that I'm leading with my sacral. As a generator with the sacral authority, my business model now revolves around one question. Does this light me up? That's why I shifted into voice first, proximity based coaching model where my coaching comes first. My intensives, VIP days, and private coaching aren't just those offers. They're the containers where women get to calibrate to my frequency. That's where I come alive. And when I'm alive, my clients are alive. Third, it meant redesigning weeks around my energy, not for productivity. I no longer subscribe to, I got to fill every single block of my Google Calendar in order to feel productive. Mondays are my creativity days. Tuesday is for connection and lead generation. Wednesdays and Thursdays are for coaching, which is my fullest energy days. And Fridays are for admin or spaciousness. I usually stop working halfway in Friday to allow for that spaciousness. My calendar now honors my design profile instead of suffocating it. And finally, it meant trusting satisfaction over survival. My old model had me chasing revenue numbers, even if I felt miserable. My new model asked, how am I satisfied? Do I feel expansive? And when the answer is yes, I know that the money flows. It doesn't mean that the cash flow has been easy. In fact, rebuilding has been one of the scariest things I've done, but I've done this multiple times and over the course of 10 years, so I know I can do it as well. But every step that I'm taking now, utilizing my human design, feels more aligned, more clarity around it, lighter and cleaner. So this is what restructuring looks like. Not throwing your whole entire business model away or burning it to the ground or even throwing your life away, but it's rebuilding the foundation so that your energy, your leadership, and your joy are front and center. Because when I'm lit up, that's when the community feels it. And that's when my clients calibrate. That's when I'm truly unapologetically visible. Now I want to invite you into a little coaching moment with me. If you're not driving, put your cafecito down, put your 2 feet on the ground, close your eyes, and take a breath. Think about a decision that you've been carrying. It could be from a business perspective, like a specific offer you want to get out into the world, or a client that you want to call in, or maybe it's not aligned and you're wanting to make a decision around that client, or maybe it's a collaboration that you have, or it could be from your personal life, a move, a relationship, or a shift in the way that you show up in the world. Notice what your mind wants you to do. It wants you to list the pros and the cons. It wants to ask, what will people think? And what's the safe choice? Now, drop lower into your body. If you're a generator like me, notice your gut. Does the idea of saying yes to this decision light you up, or does it feel heavy? Does it expand you, or does it feel like a contraction? Feel it in your body. If you're a projector, are you waiting for the invitation, or are you forcing your way in? If you're a manifester, do you feel the urge deep and undeniable, or are you just trying to please people? That's what human design is about. Not theory, not charts, but this moment right here, where you make a decision differently. So let me ask you, what would change if you trusted your human design instead of the conditioning? Human design isn't a trend. It's my compass. It's how I'm building the next decade. I'm not chasing, I'm not performing, I'm not betraying myself for someone's other version of success. I'm done with survival and I'm done with proving myself. This next chapter is about my alignment, my joy, and my embodiment. And I want that for you too. If you resonated with this episode, here's what I want you to do next. Subscribe and leave a review because that helps this podcast reach more women like us, women who were never meant to stay hidden, women who were meant to be highly visible leaders. Share this episode with someone you love who is a bit curious about human design. And don't forget to go into the show notes below to get your human design profile. And DM me on Instagram. Tell me about your biggest reframe or your biggest breakthrough from today's conversation. If you're feeling the call to go deeper, to recalibrate your personal brand, leadership, and your visibility, I would love to support you through one-on-one coaching. You can find the coaching information and offers and links in the show notes below, or you could send me a DM with the word coaching, and I will personally walk you through what offers are in alignment with your current season and what it looks like to step into this next era with clarity, confidence, and unapologetic authority. Thank you for being here and for listening and for all of the shares and reviews. Remember, you didn't come this far to play safe. You came here to be unapologetically visible. I'll see you next week.